Ladies and gentlemen, it has happened. Seth Jones is gone. He is now a member of the Florida Panthers. Welcome to Chicago, Spencer Knight. A little bit of an emergency show here. Justin Lynch, Tassos, Kirkos. Please subscribe to this YouTube channel. Follow us on Instagram at Chicago Hockey Radio. Leave a 5-star rating and review on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. How about this for a little surprise before we got going here? How cool is that?
Rob! Seth Jones is gone. We're freed. Bye, Felicia. Holy jumping. I think we probably saw this coming. I mean, maybe not this soon, though. Maybe, later next week, closer to Friday, the trade deadline. But that's not how it works in today's NHL. First of the month, KD woke up on the 3-year anniversary of when he was hired as Blackhawks GM, officially hired. The interim tag was removed. He trades Seth Jones. He offloads that contract. Well, 75% of it, but close enough. And not only that, he gets us our potential franchise goaltender in Spencer Knight and a first rounder. Absolute fleece job from Kyle from Chicago. Every single time I start to doubt this man, he gets me back in. He wins me over every time. Man, I think we needed this. I mean, clearly after his comments of wanting out and just the disarray that locker room has been in lately, like this is a trade that was going to happen. It was a matter of when it was going to happen, not if. And it has happened today. Holy jumping. Wow.
Our only other emergency podcast was when Luke Richardson was fired and Anders Sorensen was brought in, and now we got another one. This is great, man.
That's right, dude. I don't think I've seen Hawks fans this happy since we won the cup a decade ago. Like, my page has just been flooding with DMs and messages. My phone's been blowing up. Like, holy man, what a wonderful day. What an absolutely wonderful day. Definitely these trades, man, they just bang. They just happen, come out of nowhere. It's like at first I see it from Friedman. It's like, oh, there are talks between the Hawks and the Florida Panthers. And then I see Saravalli. Oh no, bang. The trade has happened. And just the return too, because that's what I was worried about. I was worried about how much you'd be retaining, right? I think 25%, very fair, right? What is that? 2.5 million for the next 5 years, big deal. The cap's gonna be going up. I'm not worried about that. And the fact that you're getting Spencer at 26 first, that could be a 27 back in return. That's a fantastic return for KD, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think it's great. Technically, it's 26% to get it to that even.
Is it 26.3 or something?
Something like that, whatever it is, to get it to
Hawks are also
2.5
sending
million.
a fourth rounder, I think, from 26. Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. They're sending them a fourth. They get a conditional 2026 first round pick that will go to a 2027 first round pick if the Florida Panthers decide to trade their 2026 first rounder to another team. Man, you know what? Like, I love this deal. Like, I love everything about it. $2.5 million. I was totally against retaining on Seth Jones if it meant retaining 50%.
Like half. Or like 3 million plus. But like 2.5 million, that's not bad. That's fair.
No.
Yeah.
With the rising salary cap too, Spencer Knight is locked up for another 2 seasons after this one at 4.5. And then he's an RFA after that. So if that means you're able to like re-sign him to another deal that's like sort of team friendly, you sort of just like count that with the goaltending, in my opinion, a little bit. Like, let's say Spencer Knight's next contract, like, he lights it up. He turns into the franchise netminder. Like, you're not going to pay him $9.5 million even if he's that good. You're going to pay him 6, maybe 7 if he really turns into the guy that you're hoping he turns into. And then it's like, okay, then you're paying for that plus the 2.5, and you get a cheap backup, right? Like if Arvid Soderblom is the guy going forward, you can get a decent backup goalie in the NHL for less than $2 million. And then you look at it like, hey, we're paying about $11 million for our goaltending, which is a good number with the salary cap rising. I love it.
Well, I think this is a good thing for the Hawks because the goaltending position's been something in this rebuild that hasn't really been prioritized by KD, and it was something that wasn't really clear going forward how it's going to pan out, right? Because good of a season as Soda has had, we don't know for sure if he's going to be the guy, right? He might be really good in a tandem, and that's what looks like we have now. I think Arvid Soderblom, Spencer Knight, that's the potential for a very solid tandem going forward. That could be our Omar Swayman. I don't know if it'll be that good, but that's what it could be, right? Plus we still have Kamesta, we still have Guyon, so it's like basically if Knight works out, which I think we have pretty confidence that he will. Like, it's hard to forget. This was like a top goaltending prospect for years. Won the gold medal with the U.S. World Junior Team in 2021. Been a very solid backup there in Florida. Obviously he's been stuck behind Bobrovsky there. So this is really his opportunity to finally take the mantle and shine. So, and really take off. So I think he's got tons of potential. And yeah, as long as one of, Soda, Comesso, Guyon work out, then boom, we have our tandem of the future. So suddenly our goaltending position went from totally unknown, and now it looks like it's figured out. So that's one part of the process done, hopefully. So no, fantastic job there from KD, and they get a first rounder in there too. Like, dude, like I would have expected retention and one of like a top pick and a prospect. He got both in there. So,
Yep.
and that's another thing to be said. It's like, if there's one thing you could complain about, it is like, oh, maybe, you make a trade happen in the offseason where you don't have to retain. But like, I will gladly retain 2.5 million until 2030 for 5 years to get our potential franchise goaltender. I think that's a pretty fair compromise, right? So,
Yeah, I
yeah,
agree.
plus that first rounder, you don't have to use it. You could always use that, in a trade, for more,
Hmm.
capital going forward. So it's like, it's just more assets. It's never a bad thing. Never a bad thing. Yeah,
Yeah, you got your franchise goalie. You got rid of somebody that clearly didn't want to be here anymore.
exactly.
Um, I'm all over this move. That first round pick, we talked about it on the Friday. I have to give Lee credit. So
He
Lee,
kind of spoke this in existence. Yeah.
less than a week ago, I think it was maybe Tuesday or something, he texted in our CHR group chat. He said, Seth Jones for Spencer Knight, and Lee said 50% retained just for Spencer Knight straight up. And he's like, how do we feel about it? And then on Friday, I gave my ideal Hawks lineup if they're really going to go all out for next year. And I had Spencer Knight on the team. I also did have Seth Jones on the team. So I'd like to think that somewhere in the middle we met, and
That's right.
the good vibes out there. And you didn't even need to retain 50%, like 25%. Like I said,
Half
it's
of
good.
that. That's a pretty good deal, right?
And now it's like, you can use your top pick this year. You can, like, on yourself, you can trade the Maple Leafs first round pick that you have too. And you can start adding NHLers via trade.
Start
here.
accelerating this thing. Get established young players, more Spencer Knights, but players, not goaltenders, right? Really start establishing this thing. What the future makeup of this roster is going to look like. We've been with so much draft picks these last few years. We can finally start getting players in here to kind of help supplement this young core we've been building. So no, I think this really helps get that process going. And also, I'd just be interested to see like what domino effects happen now. It's like, because suddenly it's like you got to think Mrazek's gone, right? We don't need him here anymore unless we run with 3 goalies. Brossoit, he's probably never going to play here now. Definitely it won't. So now it's like you can kind of run a Soda, Knight tandem the rest of the year. And then what happens on defense, right? Because suddenly there's a spot that opens up there. Does Korchinski get called up? Probably, I would imagine either him or Levshinov. Maybe Levshinov rides the rest of the season in Rockford, but you got to think somebody else comes up there. And also, an A opens up. That's a leadership position that's gone, and there's an opening there. You probably know where I'm going with this.
Yeah,
If there's a
no,
player on
I
this team
agree.
who should get an A, who should it be? I wonder who that could possibly be. Connor Bedard, baby. Just fucking give it to him, man. We'll just do it. He's gonna have the C probably, when Foligno's done next year. So let's give him a season in a quarter with the A. Why not? We'll just do it.
Yeah. I agree. Give Connor Bedard the A. They're probably going to do something silly like give it to Jason Dickinson or,
Oh my god. Oh no, please.
No. But I think they do give it to Connor Bedard.
Yeah.
Now, I do think we watched Mrazek. We live streamed the game against Vegas.
He sucked this year.
Is he starting tonight or no?
I should know the answer to that. I don't. I will.
I'll
You
get an
filibuster it.
answer.
I'll
So,
figure
okay.
that out. Yeah.
I just think that the emphasis on getting rid of him becomes that much more now. Like you got to
make it happen by
You got to
March
make
7th.
it happen. You got to
Yeah.
make it happen. You got to find somebody. The only issue with that, and that goes with maybe trading a guy.
Soda starting tonight.
Yeah, I'd imagine.
Yeah.
So somebody also in chat saying Vlasic could get the A. I wouldn't
You know what?
disagree
Yeah,
with that.
that's actually If it's not Bedard, give it to Vlasic. A little more experienced, a little older. So you don't want somebody in that decor to take it as well. Seth gone, and I imagine Murphy. I wouldn't be surprised if he could be gone too. So there's probably could be 2 openings there for Bedard and Vlasic. I'll try to speak that existence too. Like what other moves happen now? Now that this has happened, you got to think the Donato moves and others are probably rapidly approaching too. You got to think there's probably more on the horizon here, right?
Yeah, the only issue now in any deals made before Friday or on Friday is that all 3 retention spots are now being used, right?
Yeah. Well, one of those is going to open up, this offseason, right? Because one of those is
2 of them are. 2 of them are.
That's right. McCabe too, right? Yeah. So there you go. So that's not really a huge
I'm just
deal.
saying
Yeah.
you can't use that before Friday. Now,
Correct.
if somebody wants like Murphy retained or something like you're gonna have to get rid of
Yeah.
like the whole contract, which isn't a bad thing. It's just, you know, it may limit you in other deals. But man, this is such a home run for Kyle Davidson when, you know, at least from our side a little bit, I don't
He
know
kind
so
of needed
much.
this a little bit.
Yeah.
The pressure was kind of mounting him, and he bought himself a little bit of insurance at this move. I think it's fair to say.
Yeah. I think it's great, man. Like really just a home run kind of deal for the Blackhawks. It's a bit of a sigh of relief. It's good to get somebody like that out of the locker room, you know. Greg Boysen came on Wednesday. He told us Seth Jones is well liked in the locker room or nobody dislikes him, but it's just got to be weird at least when you know somebody doesn't want to be there, at least even if he hasn't been a problem the last 3 years. Like I'm sure the last like week and a half, 2 weeks haven't been the most comfortable in the Hawks dressing room, and you just don't have to deal with that any longer.
You gotta think that stuff is a distraction, right? So from that standpoint, I think it'd be really funny if the Hawks just absolutely blew out the Ducks tonight. Like first game without Seth Jones, you already could see just a happier like bunch. The vibes being high. I think we could definitely use that. But no matter what happens tonight, I think today is a W for the Blackhawks. I mean, definitely this was a matter of when, not if it was going to happen. It was inevitable. I think for both sides, it makes sense. You know, for Seth now, you get a chance to play for the defending champs and go for a cup. And he hasn't seen playoff hockey in a while. This stage of his career in his prime at 30. Be interested to see how he fits in with that Florida Panthers team. Right? That's going to be interesting to see. I wonder how they're feeling about it because, like, pretty much the sentiment I'm seeing online is this is an absolute fleece job for the Hawks. And a lot of Florida fans are like, "What are we doing here? We're giving away our franchise goalie." Because Bobrovsky, as great as he is, like, he's not getting any younger. So it's like, who's next in line? You traded Levi a few years ago, so now it's like you had two potential guys there, and they're both gone now. So I don't know what's going to happen there for them.
Let's talk about this from the Florida side a little bit, just because you are losing a guy that you picked really high. You know, he was like the highest goalie pick since Jack Campbell, who was, a really high draft pick too. And I am wearing my Boston College hoodie right now. I threw that on for anybody that didn't know that's where
Got
Spencer
my
Knight
little
went.
Hawks polo here.
So yeah, it's a bit puzzling. I think it also probably signals to me at least that they're not going to be able to hang on to Aaron Ekblad past this season. That they sort of see Jones filling into that role for Ekblad and his departure and his money. Because now you're getting Seth Jones at $7 million. Like Aaron Ekblad was probably asking for a little bit more than that, probably like 8.5, I'd imagine.
That's the other thing with Seth too. It's like they're pretty much getting him at what his value should be. Like if the contract was fair and right, I'd say he's probably a $7 million defenseman. So from that standpoint, I'd say that probably works out for them. Yeah.
Yeah, and I just think that locker room in Florida is so good, between Verhaeghe and Kachuk and Barkov and all these guys that been there, done that last year. That Seth Jones isn't going to walk in there expected to be more than he is, or, and both in terms of play on the ice or in terms of being a leader in the room. Like you're going to a team full of veterans that, the expectation is winning. Like you do everything it takes to win. And, if you're Seth, you get to go play in playoff games, which is that was what you wanted, right? And that, like, it's not like the Florida Panthers are going to miss the playoffs. Like they're in. So I get that it may be, I understand that some Panthers fans may be feeling a little weird about this. Maybe we'll have to probably get somebody from Florida on the show on Monday.
We'll get Colby Guy back on.
Yeah,
Get his thoughts on this. That Hawks-Panthers pipeline continues, man. I feel like we're always involved in a lot of trades between these two teams, I've noticed. It's kind of funny. But like I'll say from the Panthers' perspective too, like as good as that team is in that decor, it's like they don't really have a guy like Seth. Like they had Brandon Montour's like really good offensive defenseman, gets involved in that zone, but like they have a lot of really good like defensive defensemen, guys like Forsling as well. But so Jones sort of, I guess you could say, maybe fills a hole there they didn't have. I will be curious to see how he fits in with that roster. I think he'll be curious to see come playoff time. He's going to be a Hawks killer now too, but because that's how it always works for Blackhawks. But from the Eastern Conference, we won't have to see him too much, right?
Yeah, only twice a year. So
yeah, there you go.
I think this is great, man. Like this is turning the corner. This is making the best of a bad situation too. Just because it was talks that there were only a couple of teams. We talked about it. It's like Columbus, Calgary, or Anaheim. If you were looking to offload this deal without any sort of retention at all, I heard that the preference was Dallas and Colorado, and it's like those teams are really pressed up against the cap. And Florida a little bit less so. I'd imagine that Vegas Golden Knights LTIR Matthew Tkachuk until the start of the playoffs, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So I just think this is great, dude. Like, I don't know. I'm kind of at a loss right now. We could Spencer Knight.
Well, I'll
Like,
say one thing. Sorry to cut you off there.
no,
Like
you're good.
at first I was a little worried. Like I was happy. Don't get me wrong. When I saw a notification that Seth Jones was traded, but then when I saw it was to Florida and we didn't have the full return yet, I got worried because I'm like, oh shit, like that means we're gonna have to retain a ton of cap here to make that
Mm-hmm.
work. So then when I saw it was only 25%, I was like, oh hell yeah. And then I
Mm-hmm.
saw Spencer Knight, and then I saw a 26 first. I'm like, oh holy man, how did KD make this work? So man, I'd love to hear what that phone call was like. Bill Zito, tends to have reputation as one of the best GMs in the league. A rare fleece job that he was the victim of. And for KD, yeah, like I said before, like every time I start to doubt this guy, he pulls some magic. And I think just on the anniversary, the 3-year anniversary, they became GM of this team, offloading Stan Bowman's final gift to us, making Hawks fans happy, I think is very poetic. And also, by the way, totally unrelated, Patrick Kane, goal and assist in the Stadium Series. They lost 5-3 to Columbus, but just a lot of good things happening today. I think all we need is a Pookie goal, and I think today will be perfect.
Yeah, I agree. Spencer Knight, and here's the thing too, like it hasn't always been like a smooth ride for Spencer Knight, but it just feels like that this year his development has really settled down a little bit. Like he actually was not on the team last year when they won the Stanley Cup. He spent the
That's right.
entire year. It
Was
was
he dealing with some things? Yeah.
Well, he was dealing. So he was in the program for a little bit for
Yeah.
OCD. Complications and issues surrounding that, and trying to figure that out in his life. But he didn't, like, it was Bobrovsky and Anthony Stolarz was the backup last year for Florida, and Spencer Knight spent the whole season with the Charlotte Checkers in the American Hockey League, and Stolarz signs in Toronto this summer, and they also brought in Chris Drieger, but like Knight took the backup role. He's been really solid for them. He's 12-8-1 with a
2 shutouts, 240 goals
240.
against, and 907 save percentage. Yeah, he's definitely got it figured out this year. And this is a guy like easy to forget, man. Like I remember the hype he had coming in, like he's going to be an elite goalie in the NHL. He's only 23 years old, going to be 24 in April, 2019 draft pick. So and goalies take time, man. So no, he's got long promising future ahead of him, and he's going to have all the opportunity here, right? He's not going to be behind anybody. Like he is our guy now. He's going to be prioritized. He's going to be the starter. I would imagine he gets more starts compared to Soderblom. He'd be the 1A, Soderblom be the 1B. I know Soda's had a good season, but no, Knight definitely is above him in the depth charts. So that perspective, I think that's pretty clear. But that's another thing too. It's not like he has to I think they can kind of share the workload pretty nicely and then be a nice 1A, 1B tandem, which is kind of what the NHL is trending these days at goaltending. So I think from that standpoint, it's going to work out pretty well, I would think. Yeah.
very young for NHL goalie standards here. Somebody saying in the chat too, which is true. Like goalies have a later development curve than like a center, or a winger. And the fact that this guy is only 23 years old,
That's right.
he'll turn
And he already
24 in
has
a month, but
he's that young, and he already has 80 NHL starts, 44, 25, and 7, 5 shutouts, 276, 906. So his career stats pretty similar to this year. So I think that's only scratched the surface, man. I think, in his prime, as this Hawks team gets better and better with this delicious decor we've been developing. That's another thing, man. I will say with this trade, not that I want this, but suddenly the Matthew Schaefer train maybe gains a little bit of traction with the Seth Jones being shipped off. I maybe I'm on the nothing there, but that is something I can't help but look at and think that, if the Hawks do have the first pick, and maybe not, if the Sharks get the first pick, they're taking him. But if the Hawks get the first pick, suddenly that becomes a whole lot more interesting too. Is it him, Higgins, or Misa? It's gonna be one of those three. So, but that's a topic for another time.
yeah. I don't really have much else, honestly. I don't know. I'm glad we did this. I'm glad we got to hop behind the mics and pump out a quick emergency show here. Let me look through the chat a little bit. I don't know if you have any more thoughts.
Yeah, let's see what they're saying. I'm sure they're buzzing right now.
Yeah,
my page, I'm
buzzing.
sure, is buzzing. Everybody's probably wants to hear from me right now.
Yeah.
But no, it's good to get this out there, right? Why not, right? We got time before the game and just beat everybody else. I think we're probably the first Hawks people covering this. So,
Yep.
if you ain't first, you're last, right? That's what Ricky Bobby would say. And we'll have plenty more time to break this down. I'm sure the post game with more thoughts come to our mind. We might just make it a Seth Jones part 2 and not talk about the game if it goes badly. And we'll have all this week to cover it. I'm sure KD's not done. I imagine he'll be plenty more busy. But the big trade, the one that we've all been waiting for, is out of the way. So, yeah, be interested to see what else he's cooking here.
Did you see the clip of Elliot Friedman breaking it on HockeyNet in Canada?
Oh no, I didn't. What was that like?
It's good. They were like doing their segment, and then they only had like 30 seconds left or something. And Kevin Bieksa looks over at him, and he's like, oh, like, what's going on, Freed? And he's like, Seth Jones is going to Florida. And then he was like, they're like, do you have a trade? And then he's like, yeah, it's Spencer Knight. And then they went to break. It was kind of awesome.
That's funny, man. But and yeah, I think that's good too because it kind of gives us more of an opportunity to see more of our young defensemen, right? We still have such a good young developing core here, right? I mean, if it all works out, you got Korchinski, you got Levshinov, you've got Vlasic, you've got Renzel, you've got Allen, you got Damasio, etc. So, yeah, it'd be fun to see this develop and just to see the domino effect that this creates here, you know? Yeah.
What is the impact on the legacy of Laurent Brossois?
Yeah, I
That's
don't
all
know if we'll
I'm
build.
getting from chat.
I don't know if we'll be able to configure that one. But yeah, no, it's definitely a big day in Blackhawks land. I think definitely much needed too. Like just this past week, man, like I've never seen this fan base just so down, just in the dumps. And I think this definitely it woke me up. It woke all of us up. But I think just even in times of darkness, to get these rays of sunshine and hope is much needed. So. Yeah, looking forward to seeing what else we got cooking here. KD, you've won me back over. Now let's keep this momentum rolling. Don't get off the KD train, man. Hop on for the ride. He's won me back over, man. I'm a believer.
Yeah, me too. Honestly, really did. And honestly, like Seth Jones, it is what it is. I'm sure the Chicago legacy of Seth Jones will forever be stained. But
One of the most polarized, probably Chicago athletes in recent memory. Sorry to
yeah,
sorry to cut you off again, but it is a shame for that standpoint that never worked out here, right? The timing was just never right. Thought he was coming to contender, then we rebuild pretty much right away when he comes on, and just losing hockey the last 4 years. Like I understand from his perspective, why I'd be frustrated. But like, look, when you're making all that money, I don't really want to hear your complaints, right? But it does suck that we never really got to see him, kind of stick this out because I think on these strong Hawks teams and maybe start to kind of bring it back the other way and win Hawks fans over. It never really panned out for him from that standpoint. But I think this was a band-aid that needed to be ripped off, right? I think just letting it pan out, I think it needed to be solved, addressed, especially when he made those comments last week. I think that was him putting the pressure on KD. And KD definitely took it seriously. He took all the slander personally, and yeah, he cooked. Absolute fleece job, masterclass. Can't wait to talk more about it. And suddenly much more excited for this Blackhawks game tonight, too. First game without Seth Jones. What does that decor look like? How does the team look? And I think the vibes hopefully will start to, the culture change that we've been talking about is starting to unfold for sure.
oh, interesting question so okay, before I answer this question from Trev in chat, just like as much as Seth Jones deserved the slander, this honestly does have the opportunity to be a win-win for both sides.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, look, the Panthers, if you win back-to-back cups, I don't think anybody's going to be complaining about this trade
No.
in June, right? So, I mean, I'm sure right now they're probably not too thrilled about it, but it's like Seth Jones is also, look, the contract does kind of blind a lot of people. Like he's a good defenseman. He has what, 27 points at 41 games this year, 54-point pace. I think his defense has been better too. So, look,
Mm-hmm.
when he's off, he's really off, but when he's on, like he's damn good. So, he could be a quarterback of the power play there come playoff time. Like he could be a big piece for them. So, no, I think in the short term, if they have another cup run, another long, playoff success here, like I think it could benefit both teams. And for the Hawks, I think for both sides could definitely be a win-win for sure. Yeah.
You think there's any chance Peter Mrazek gets waived?
Yeah, I mean, because who really wants Peter? The season he's had, I don't think KD's gonna be getting a lot of takers for that. I don't even know if future considerations on the table for him. So, I just do what you gotta do. Waive him, yeah, just get him out of here. Because like at this rate, like I don't know, you could run 3 goalies the rest of the year, but like then it's a roster spot that's gone. I'd rather see a young defenseman have. So I think it makes sense to ride a soda night tandem the rest of the year. Like starting Peter more doesn't make any sense. Hopefully we've seen his last game as a Hawk here. Yeah.
Agreed. Okay. That's all I got. You got anything else?
No, I'm sure we'll have plenty more, but we have plenty of time to talk about it. So I'm
Yeah.
really glad this broke today and not tomorrow because we're going to be, it's going to be a long day for us tomorrow in ECHL land over there in Kalamazoo, Michigan.
Yeah.
So I'm glad this happened now when we're not, busy. Now that I said that, there's probably going to be a bunch of other trades that happen tomorrow, like the Donato and everybody's going to be gone.
Nothing will be as big as this, though.
Yeah, no, this is the peak. This is absolute cinema. So yeah.
Agreed. Yeah, everybody enjoy the game that's watching live right now. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you are new because of this emergency show, hit that subscribe button and follow us on Instagram at Chicago Hockey Radio. I'm glad we got this as well, brother.
Hell yeah.
Should be a good game tonight. All right.
Yes,
and
sir.
We'll be back for the post-game show right after the Ducks game. So
That's
there will
right.
be a
Midnight Hawks Ducks post game show, baby. We will be there.
there will be a lot of A lot of Seth Jones talk. I imagine tonight on the post game, Monday's show. I'm sure it'll extend this whole week. So
Yeah. Happy birthday to Lee and my dad as well. Like, definitely a good birthday present for them.
yes, happy birthday to Lee and your father as well. Yeah. So somebody's asking for Trevor's asking for. We're going live for the post game show. We're going live for the post game show, not for the game. We're not live streaming tonight's game.
No.
Cool. All right.
All right.
We'll see everybody later. Peace out.
Hell yeah. Rah.
Hell yeah, dude. Oh.